I want to finish off chapter 3 with a couple not really concluding thoughts because this is a really ongoing process. After 20 or 30 years, I still feel myself going deeper and kind of picking up more of it every time I ask the question, do thoughts need a thinker? Do our feelings need a feeler? And uh, as we kind of explore this, we say, okay, well, you know, what happens if what are the consequences of really doing away with the self? And I get this. I've had a couple comments, and it's a really very popular question because it feels like there just would be something really missing out of life if we got rid of the self. Like in the East, they call this a stone Buddha. That for some reason, like would just be like a computer program. It would be heartless and like a machine if somehow we eliminated the self. And that's really, at least in my experience, that's really not the way it's panned out. And so this idea that you need a thinker of the thoughts doesn't, and you see, okay, well, the thinker behind the thoughts is itself just a thought. And so you realize there is no thinker behind the thoughts, there is no feeler behind the feelings, but that doesn't eliminate the thoughts and it doesn't eliminate the feelings. And it doesn't even eliminate the preferences that we have in life. So you still have favorite TV shows, you have a favorite drink or a favorite food or whatever. And even preferences of people. You may have, even though you say, well, there's no thinker behind this, you know, meat machine, but that doesn't stop you from having a certain attraction to some and not so much maybe with others. And so there's an old saying from the East that before enlightenment, mountains are mountains and rivers are rivers. And then after enlightenment, mountains are mountains and rivers are rivers. And the whole, I've really messed that up, but the whole gist of it is that when you see that there really isn't a thinker behind the thoughts and a feeler behind the feelings, the remarkable thing is how little has changed. And the reason so little has changed is because so little has actually changed. It was just an idea that kind of led you down a path that kind of created the sense of problems. And that's why I think Ram Dass put it really well when he said, all spiritual teachers are illusionists, teaching illusion to get past illusion. And you say, okay, well, then what's the point? Well, remember, the Tao Te Ching starts off right at the beginning and says, look, everything I'm going to say isn't the real thing. And it doesn't stop them from going off and finishing the book. And so that's, you know, it's only in the sense of left brain seriousness that we feel like, okay, this has to have an explanation, this has to have an interpretation. In a right brain world, where we're like, the right brain is a lot like a kid, that sense of play that we used to have. You know, you ever go up and ask a kid, like, well, what are you doing? Why are you playing? And they'll give you that very strange look, like, you know, the question is really meaningless. You play, it's obvious, you know. And in that same way, you know, you can really see through the thinker behind the thoughts. And it doesn't mean you don't still play and have some fun and enjoy this experience. And so I may have a few other things on chapter 3, but once we get through chapters 1, 2, and 3, and we really see that the thinker behind the thoughts is itself just another thought, and we sort of, you know, do away with that kind of seriousness of the self-illusion. You know, have the illusion as long as it's playful. But the rest of the book is playing around with right brain experiences, and they're just far less serious. They're more playful. And so I may not do it in a linear way, but I'll get to the rest of the chapters at some point.